Hello Year 2s and welcome to another math lesson. Today we are going to start a new chapter called fractions. And fractions is all about sharing. So I am going to show you how we will share different numbers or different objects equally between two or more friends. So remember, whenever you see the word fractions, it means I will be sharing. So, when I have a bar of chocolate, let's pretend this is my bar of chocolate, and I do not cut it into any pieces, I will say that I have one whole bar of chocolate or one whole number, because I have not cut or shared anything. So I have one whole. When we write it like this. A 1, and the word for 1 is whole. That means I have not shared any pieces. But what if I want to take my chocolate and share it between myself and my friend? So, I will have to share my chocolate in the middle, and each friend will get one half of the chocolate. Let's look how we will write that. We write it like this. 1, and the 1 will stand on a line, and under I will write 2, because I have taken my bar of chocolate and cut it into 2 pieces. 1, 2. And I give my friend 1 of the 2 pieces. Do you understand? I give my friend 1 of the 2 pieces. So the number I write at the bottom will tell me how many pieces I have shared the chocolate into, and the number at the top will tell me how many pieces I get to have or how many pieces my friend will get to have. In this case, my friend gets to have 1 of the 2 pieces. And when I see a number written like that, I call that 1 half. My friend will get half of my chocolate. What if I have 3 friends that I want to share with? I will take my chocolate and cut it into 4 pieces. 1 for me and 1 piece for each of my friends. Do you see? I have a whole chocolate and I cut it into 4 pieces. I get to keep 1 of the 4 pieces. Let's see when I write the number. At the top, I get to keep 1 of the 4 pieces. Let's look at our picture. There are 4 pieces. That is the number that I'm writing at the bottom. And I get to keep 1 of the 4 pieces. When I keep 1 of the 4 pieces, I am going to write it like this. 1/4 or 1/4. So when we cut something into 4 pieces, we can also call it a quarter. Each piece is a quarter or 1/4. So we have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. And when I put all my pieces together, I will have 1 whole bar of chocolate. I hope you understand. The number that I will write at the bottom tells me how many pieces I have cut my chocolate into, and the number at the top will tell me how many pieces I will get to keep or how many pieces my friend will get to keep. Remember, when we cut something, we need to keep the pieces equal, because otherwise it will not be fair for you to have a big piece and for me to have a small piece. Now, let's look what our textbook says about this. Chapter 12 in our textbook. So, let's remember, I just told you that when we are cutting our shapes, we need to share them equally. So, number 1 reads, these shapes are divided into equal parts. I have my triangle, I cut it down the middle, and I can see these two are equal parts. That means that they are the same. Let's look at my square. I have cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and they are all equal. Now, the circle. I have cut my circle into 1, 2 pieces, and they are all equal. And my rectangle, I have cut into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and I can see that they are all equal. Remember, for the answer to be fair, you have to cut the pieces into equal parts. Let's look at number 2. These shapes are not divided into equal parts. Look at this circle. Can you see that this piece is much smaller than this piece? So, if this was my piece of cake and I cut this small piece and gave it to you and kept the big piece for myself, that would not be fair. So, these parts are not shared equally. Let's look at the next shape. I can see that this part is much bigger than the part at the bottom. So these are not shared equally. Moving on to the triangle. Look what they did. I have a small piece on this side and a much bigger piece on this side. So these parts are not shared equally. And the square at the back, we can see they have cut it into 3 parts, but they are also not shared equally. Number 3, the circle here and the square are each divided into 2 equal parts, and I can see that 1, 2 equal parts. Now they say one of the 2 parts is shaded. Half of the circle is shaded. And remember, I taught you how to write this fraction. The number at the top tells me how many pieces I will get, which is 1. And the number at the bottom tells me how many pieces I have cut it into. 1, 2 pieces. Let's look at the square. The square says 1 of the 2 pieces, equal parts, is shaded. Of the square is shaded. What do we call it when one of the 2 parts are shaded? We say 1/2 of the square is shaded. Number 4. The circle and the square are each divided into 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the 4 equal parts is shaded. Remember how to write that fraction. One part is shaded and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts all together. One of the 4 parts are shaded. A quarter of the circle is shaded. 1/4, 1 equal part of the square is shaded. Of the square is shaded. What do we call it when it's 1 equal part? We say it is 1/4. Or we can write 1/4. Let's move on to the next page. Halves and quarters. We will learn to recognize the fraction 1/2 and 1/4. Using fractions to describe halves and quarters, this is a whole apple. And remember, I showed you with my shape. Cut the apple into 2 equal parts. 1, 2. Each part is a half. We write a half as 1/2. Let's look at B. This is a whole apple. Cut the apple into 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each part is a quarter. We write a quarter as 1/4. 1/2 and 1/4 are fractions. Let's look at C. I have my square and I have cut it into 2 pieces. Half of the square is shaded. Half is 1 out of 2 equal parts. 1 of the 2 parts that is shaded. Read 1/2 as 1/2. Let's look at D. 1/4 of the square is shaded. 1/4 is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Read 1/4 as 1/4 or 1/4. Now let's do together. Circle each figure that shows half. Remember, the only time it can show half is if I have shared my shape equally. So look at the first one. Do you think this is fair? Do you think this is equal? No. So this one is not equal. Let's look at the next one. Do you think these pieces are equal? Yes, they are. So this figure shows 1/2. Let's look at the next part. Do you think this figure is shared equally? Yes. So this figure shows 1/2. What about the rectangle? Is the rectangle shared equally? No. So it is not 1/2. Number 2. Circle the figure that shows 1/4 or 1/4. So let's look at my circle. Is this shared equally between 4 friends? Yes. So this figure shows 1/4. Next one. Does this shape show that the pieces are shared equally? Yes. so this figure shows 1/4. Let's look at the triangle. Are the pieces shared equally? Now we have to be careful. This piece is much bigger than this skinny piece over here, because this is a big block and this is a much smaller block. So this is not shared equally, and this does not show 1/4. Let's look at the square. Is the square shared into 4 equal parts? No, because this square is much smaller than this square. So this figure does not show 1/4. Number 3. How many halves are there in a whole? How many halves to make one whole figure? 1/2, 2 halves. How many halves are in a whole? 2. How many quarters are there in a whole? Quarters? 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters to make a whole. So the number is 4. Now you are going to do exercise 1 on your own. If there is anything you are not sure about, please send me a message and I will help you. See you again tomorrow. Bye.